Hello and welcome, Mr. Jaitley. It's lovely to have you back on Times Now. You've been bowling a few sixers, whether it's in the areas of reforms or it's in the area of the black money case, which is something that's topmost in most people's mind because it's also got political connotations to it. You said the media and the Congress party and the opposition parties have not understood the case. But isn't it true that the NDA stand, your government stand in the court, seemed almost the same as the UPA stand with what was made by the UPA during the course of the
It was completely different. And I regret Indian media got it completely wrong. What is the procedure by which you get details of internationally illegally maintained accounts? You seek cooperation with a reciprocating state. In this case, the reciprocating states are Germany and Switzerland. The information that they provide to you is governed by a certain set of conditions which are either a part of their domestic law or are a part of a double taxation avoidance treaty. Now, we got some names from Germany under a treaty. The treaty said, you can't use these names for a political purpose. You can only disclose those names which after investigation you find that charges are to be filed in court. So when charges are filed against those names in court, you disclose those names. Now I'll give you the reason why. There are some people who may legitimately with the Reserve Bank have an account abroad. There are some people who are NRIs, therefore they are entitled to an account abroad. And there are many who may maintain illegal accounts. Therefore, charges will be filed only against people who maintain illegal accounts. You don't go about defaming the others whose accounts are not illegal. So the treaty required you'd only disclose it in court for the court purpose. And therefore, all that we said was that those accounts details which are filed in court will be made public. The Supreme Court should not declare that all accounts should be made available to somebody who declares it public.
No, fair enough.
Now, this stand is interpreted to mean we won't declare the names. We never said that. And therefore, my position even today is cases against which charges are being filed will be made public. Cases against whom charges are not being filed certainly will not be made public.
That's exactly what Pranab Mukherjee, the then finance minister, has said.
What is wrong in this stand? And the media, with its lack of comprehension, made it appear that as though we are taking a comprehension, some kind of
the point that was being made was that was a similar stand taken by the Congress party on the floor of the House. The expectations had been raised by the BJP itself.
No, sorry, the media made it appear that we have taken a U-turn. We are now trying to conceal the account. We are going back. All we said was accounts will be made public in accordance with the due process of law.
Mr. Jaitley, the question here is also about the fact that the Supreme Court, in its own judgment, has clearly pointed out that the agreement between Germany and India is with regard to various issues that crop up with respect to German and Indian citizens' liability to pay taxes. It says in its judgment, therefore, the information sought does not fall within the ambit of this provision. It is disingenuous for the Union of India. This it told the Congress-led government of the UPA. Under these circumstances, to repeatedly claim that it is unable to reveal the documents and names.
What happened was, pursuant to this judgment,
the Congress revealed 18 names.
The government said, please file these names. The Supreme Court said file these names with the court. The government filed them. They gave it to the petitioner. The petitioner had made it public. The Germans have now written to us saying, we won't cooperate with you if you don't follow the treaty. Now, if you violate the treaty, you actually end up helping the account holders because their names will never be made public or never be known to us. So all we told the court was, we should be constrained by the requirements of treaty. Whatever is the treaty requirement, the treaty may be wrong, but at least today we can't conceal the treaty. So all we intend to tell the court is, we will make those names public against whom charges are being filed in court.
Fair enough, Mr. Jaitley. You have said somewhere there is an expectation that political parties normally protect political parties, and that is the reason why you probably didn't want to disclose names, because there could be other political parties members whose names could have been on the list.
Well, that's absolutely wrong. If my opponent's names are there, I will be very enthusiastic in declaring it.
So you've already said the Congress Congress
well,
can be changed.
I think you wait for the fact when in case charges are proved against some politician, that politician, he or she happens to be a member of a political party, the names will be made public.
But is this a member of the Council of Ministers of the Manmohan Singh government?
Well, I don't want to give details about it, because then again I'll be end up violating the treaty. I don't want to give those details. If we are able to prove charges against that individual concerned or those individual concerns.
But an influential family of the Congress party?
You see, if we are able to prove charges against any person, politician or otherwise, the names will be told to the court and they'll become public.
But you've already said that the Congress party is involved. Are there other political parties whose names you would have seen?
Well, I
the
don't
list?
want to get into specific details at the moment, because I don't want to be accused of violating the treaty.
You're not violating the treaty when you say that it could be a person in Dr. Manmohan Singh's Council of Ministers?
Well, I know who you are hinting at, but you please wait for the appropriate time.
But you're not denying that it could be somebody there?
Well, I am neither confirming nor denying, I am only smiling.
Okay, so your smile says 1,000 words, Mr. Jaitley. On the issue of the other important case that has been going on and has hogged the headlines as far as the Congress party is concerned, is the entire National Herald case. You've said in the past that there has been a loan given to an entity, the Young Indian, which was then used for acquiring property in National Herald case, and that giving of loan was wrong. If that was wrong, what is the action that the government has taken against the Congress
party?
party?
Well, it's for the CBDT to take action. I don't take action. The CBDT exercises a quasi-judicial power. That's the Directorate of Investigation. They are taking appropriate action in the matter. The substance of the alleged offence is, a political party is entitled to collect funds and use funds for a political purpose. It gets exemption from payment of tax, because if you are using it for a political purpose, no tax is payable. The political party then ends up through a third entity giving a loan to a business entity which runs a business. And for the purposes of running a business, money collected for a political purpose is diverted. So when money is diverted for a purpose other than a political purpose, it's a clear violation of the condition for which the money was raised. The tax department is therefore entitled to know the details. Is there a violation of the law which has taken place or not? Are you then either liable to pay tax, or are you liable to lose your exemption? The tax department, to all concerned, has issued notices. Tax department is making its inquiries, and I hope the Congress party and all the other entities which are involved cooperate with the tax department in coming to a finding.
So you're saying it would be in place if the Congress party was also questioned from the tax authorities on this?
Obviously, money collected for a political purpose by a political party can only be used for a political purpose and not for a business purpose.
So you think the tax exemption given to the Congress party is also under question?
Certainly it reflects on that, because if you misuse the exempted money and use it for a non-exempted purpose, your exemption itself will be at stake. Therefore, the Congress party has a lot of answering to do. Now, instead of raising technical objections, they'll certainly have to come to the meat of the matter.
Mr. Jaitley, somewhere or the other there is a feeling, once again I bring this point up, because mostly people feel that politicians shield politicians. In the case of Robert Vadra, there was a lot of hue and cry that was made before the Rajasthan elections. The issue came up there. So far there's been no action on it. In the Haryana elections, once again, the central BJP office also raised questions about deals between DLF and Robert Vadra. Yet, it always is a matter that is used during elections, but somehow no action seems to be
Well, the
coming
new
forward.
government is taking over in Haryana. The substance of the entire matter was in Haryana. Substantially it was in Haryana. And therefore, let's wait for the new government as to what action they take in the matter in Haryana.
But as a senior leader of the BJP who's been advising the party on some of these very crucial political issues, do you see prima facie there is a case where favors were granted to Robert
Well,
Wada?
I prima facie see a case where somebody starts with almost no capital or negligible capital. There are certain amount of favors granted to him. There are sweetheart deals, as a result of which within a matter of months or years, a no capital transaction helps him to raise hundreds of crores worth of assets. Now these transactions don't appear to be in the normal course of business. They appear a little out of the ordinary. Now if any violation of law, a land law or a permission or any other law has taken place, it's for the state government to look into the matter.
But prima facie there is a case for investigation at least.
Prima facie there is certainly a case for investigation, because it doesn't happen that you start with almost negligible investment, a few lakh of rupees, and that turns into crores and crores of rupees within a matter of a year or two. Now that doesn't happen in a normal transaction unless it's a completely sweetheart deal.
The Congress party has often used the Supreme Court dismissing the PIL on this issue as a ruse to say there is nothing against.
Supreme Court dismissed the PIL doesn't mean that there is no illegality in the transaction. That doesn't mean that the Haryana government can't get into the transaction. In any case, dismissing a petition in limine is never an expression on the merits of a case.
Mr. Jaitley, let's come to the role of Arun Jaitley as the finance minister. Many people feel you've basically continued the process that had been started by the UPA government. You've managed to move forward in a couple of areas, but principally the direct benefit transfer, something that your cabinet just continued last week.
We've moved a process where the Congress did nothing. For example, we have linked the diesel prices to the market. Therefore, there is a subsidy rationalization. The direct benefit transfer itself will help me to cut down subsidies by a few thousand crores. Therefore, it has an impact as far as the direct. It has an impact as far as the subsidy.
But it's a Congress idea.
You see, it's a logical economic idea. There is no copyright on an idea. But it's an idea which Congress never could implement. Fixation of gas prices. As far as coal is concerned, we had to clean up the entire mess which the Congress had left behind. Look at the number of messes they left behind. Retrospective taxation, tax terrorism, the coal mess, the 2G mess. Each one of them, clearing each one of them itself has become a part of the reform process today. And we are doing it. I think the ordinance, if you closely minutely see the ordinance, besides going in for e-auctions as far as these mines are concerned, so that economic activity on the strength of coal goes up, there is a very significant provision in this that we start commercial user of these mines while retaining the monolith character of Coal India. So Coal India will remain. Coal India will be the principal body as far as coal is concerned, coal mining is concerned. But the government will also be entitled to, there's an enabling provision to start private sector mining. Now that's extremely important in a country like India.
So private sector mining, you think, will bring the next generation of reforms? It will unlock some of the potential?
It will put investment into the area. It will encourage competition. It will bring efficiencies into the system. It will end monopolies. Now all these are extremely important reforms.
But land acquisition, as leader of opposition, we've had several discussions that you had reservations with the Land Acquisition Act, the way the Congress had passed
I do believe, as far as the Land Acquisition Act is concerned, the farmers are entitled to higher compensation than they were getting under the old law. And therefore, when the new law gives them a higher valuations, It's certainly a welcome phenomena, and that phenomena should be preserved. But at the same time, you require land for development, for townships, for residential houses, for infrastructure, for irrigation projects, for affordable housing for the poor, for national security. You require for commercial users, for industry, for growth you require land. So whereas the present act is a welcome act insofar as it gives a higher compensation, it has too many complicated procedures which slow down or almost make it impossible to acquire land which is required for a developmental purpose. Therefore, some part of the oppressive provisions of the act will have to have a fresh look at. And I hope the Indian political system is mature enough to think in terms of doing that, because if the interest of the farmer and the adequacy of compensation is important, development is also equally important.
So you are saying that you are ready with a blueprint as far as amendments to the Land Acquisition Act is concerned?
I am merely stating a principle which people must have a look at. It's for the government to collectively apply its mind. Speaking for myself, my personal view is what I have expressed just now to you. It's purely a personal view, and I hope my colleagues in the government also accept this particular view, and so do other people in the Indian political process.
Mr. Jaitley, the question here is also that industry, after the euphoria of the Modi government coming, the full majority that you've got, somewhere still feels that India is still not reaching that level where investments will come
I'll tell you,
and flow as freely as you would want them to.
There is a positive environment, there is a positive attitude. People are looking at India. They are waiting and watching as to the pace of the reforms. As far as real capital is concerned, its inflows have now to come in and expand. One area where we are still lacking is manufacturing. That's why the Prime Minister has started giving this call for the Make in India program, so that manufacturing itself picks up. And unless manufacturing picks up, India won't be able to grow. And I think if we are to reach modest and moderate levels of growth, manufacturing has to pick up.
So apart from the atmosphere that has been created, what are the 3 or 4 things that you are likely to do in the next few months to actually kickstart that entire process, which right now is a statement of intent, hasn't got into action?
I think we've demonstrated that we are a decisive government. We've demonstrated that we are going to have ease of doing business in India. We've opened up investment in various sectors. Defense, for instance. In my capacity as the defense minister, there are a lot of reforms that have taken place in the last 4-5 months. We've increased FDI to 49%. We've delicensed items. We are trying to make India into a manufacturing hub as far as defense is concerned. Now, these are all insurance. I've opened up insurance. I hope to pass the insurance bill in the winter session, and $7 to $8 billion of rupees is just waiting to come into this country in a sector which is otherwise investment starved. Now, all this is going to generate a lot of economic activity. I think a positive environment is created. It has to be now translated into results.
The Congress party has often blamed the BJP that you didn't let the insurance bill go through, despite in principle being agreeable to the actual intent of that bill. Why do you think the Congress party will now support you?
I think the original culprit was the Congress party. When during the NDA government we suggest 49, it's the Congress party which opposed it. When they suggest 49, some of our colleagues had reservations. I at least never had reservations on 49. I've been talking to the Congress party, and I see a positive attitude of the Congress party at the moment.
As a defense minister, don't you think there is a dichotomy in the government's point of view as far as its dealings with China is concerned? At a time when you were welcoming the Chinese president here, you had your borders really virtually being breached there, and then a statement came later, almost 2 weeks later, that both sides have agreed to go to the pre-September position. Somewhere, there is no
dichotomy. We had a dialogue with the Chinese. There was a visit at the highest level, and we expected a certain amount of reasonableness. But as the visit was taking place, we also found there was a violation in Chumar which was taking place in Ladakh. We took up this issue very strongly. We used diplomacy and military action to resolve it. Our soldiers were almost eye-to-eye contact with the Chinese soldiers. We didn't allow them to breach anything. And we used diplomacy as an instrument, and finally the Chinese had to retract.
So you think you're in a similar position as far as China is concerned and Pakistan is concerned?
You see, there is
both
a difference.
sides.
There's a difference between
But the fact is that, you know, wherever you're trying to make diplomatic, there is a military offensive that comes in.
There is a difference between the two. As far as China is concerned, on the line of actual control, China has a different perception of what the line of actual control is. India has a different perception. There is no firing that takes place. It's a perception difference. As far as Pakistan is concerned, either international border or the line of control, there is no difference in perception. The line is clearly defined. Pakistan just takes the initiative in firing indiscriminately. We'd been on the receiving end using a shield to defend ourselves. This time there was a change of strategy. Besides the shield, we also used the sword. And we reacted very strongly. And therefore, Pakistan also realized that the cost of that kind of a misadventure was quite heavy as far as Pakistan was concerned.
But hasn't it pushed back the deadlines as far as any diplomatic touch between the two sides is concerned?
Of course it has. And the responsibility for that is entirely on Pakistan. Our foreign secretaries otherwise would have been speaking to each other. The level of talks would have upgraded itself. But because of the environment Pakistan has created, the whole process has suffered.
Do you think the fact that the Pakistanis are trying to internationalize the Kashmir issue at every forum is also something that's...
well, that's not a matter of concern because it's a failed effort at internationalization. The world is no longer willing to give you the advantage of this kind of a misadventure.
Mr. Jaitley, there's another issue that really bothers a lot of army personnel, which is the one rank, one pension issue. It's something that the BJP has had, as part of its election talk, its manifesto. How do you think this issue is going?
Well, we are committed to the one rank, one pension issue. I've had a series of meetings on this issue. There were many issues with the Indian Army with regard to various directives to be issued, the War Museum, the War Memorial. All of them have been resolved by this present government. We've been decisive. This is one issue on which discussions are going on, because whereas we accept this issue in principle, there is a difference of perception amongst various people as to how the calculations are to be made. I have now in the final decision of deciding how the calculations are to be made. Prima facie, I find it difficult that the government will be able to decide, the services will be able to decide, or the ex-servicemen will be able to decide. It is quite possible that I may have to refer it to an independent tribunal to decide how the calculation with regard to this is to be made. I am in the process of discussing this process with the services and the ex-service persons league, and once this decision is taken, probably I'll be able to resolve that issue. So
it will go to a tribunal, and the time frame when
that's exactly
the issue can be expected to be resolved?
I am currently working on that proposal.
Mr. Jaitley, let's end this entire interview on the political note. The BJP has won Maharashtra and Haryana. Haryana absolutely decisively. Maharashtra, you still have the last mile linkage that needs to be done. Would you go with the NCP?
Well, I don't know who we'll go with. As I said, we have two proposals. The NCP has been gracious enough to announce a unilateral support because they say stability has to be there. The Shiva Sena has been a natural ally, and the Shiva Sena and the BJP are communicating, not actively but at least through gestures. And I'm sure it will mature into some kind of a dialogue. What final decision is taken with whom we eventually go is yet to be decided.
Despite corruption as your plank in the elections of May 2014 and the elections of Maharashtra in September, October, you will actually have truck with the NCP?
No, I haven't said that. Politics doesn't operate.
But you haven't denied that support either.
No. You see, when somebody is supporting me, I don't have to kick him back. It's not necessary.
Not even if somebody is called the Prime Minister, somebody who needs to be treated in a mental hospital, and you've called that party naturally corrupt party.
In elections, all kinds of comments are made, and thereafter, when you have a split mandate, you need a government, and you need a government.
So compromise is something that's on the cards.
Well, in a hung assembly, coalitions will take place. Coalitions will take place even when contradictions are there. But I haven't said that we are going with the NCP. I see Shiv Sena more a natural ally of the BJP.
But you're right now stuck on the fact on who's going to contact whom first, because that's where the power equations are resting.
Well,
so how does that breakthrough happen?
Well, I think that's what the media thinks, but politicians are cleverer than the
So
media.
is Uddhav Thackeray meeting Narendra Modi? Has there been
Well, it's not necessary to meet. You can communicate even without meeting.
Okay, so the BJP going solo is something that is what the BJP will do now henceforth?
No, there is no question going solo. We'll certainly need an ally because we are a few short of seats. And while we are a few short of seats, we'll certainly have to ally with somebody or the other.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jaitley. It was nice talking to you, and wish you a very happy Diwali.
Thank you. Happy Diwali to you.